Hello, and welcome back to the Douglas Fir Association with me, Luke, and Matt at Matticus Tattooi. I'm a bit all over the place at the moment. It's funny because the last one we did, I said, hey, there's going to be a break, and then I forgot to take the footage with me to edit. So, for anyone who might watch these or keep up with them, there'll be no break. But I'll just say, I've been away for a couple of weeks and I've been traveling all day today, but we're both just so excited to get to the end of this initial journey. And we're going to be watching tonight the finale of the original series of Twin Peaks. So, in the interim, I've been in Norway, I've been watching along, and we've kind of been getting more in sync than we have been for a while. But we finished the majority of season two, so we're just going to talk a tiny bit about that and then just thoughts heading into the last episode. So, post Leland death, Laura story dying pretty much, what have been your thoughts of season two of Twin Peaks?
For the most part, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. There's definitely been some stuff that's going on that it's just seems fairly pointless and just like to sort of drag out the episodes a bit. The whole thing with James going off. I mean, I can't remember her name because it's that irrelevant. But that whole storyline just seemed absolutely pointless. It came to a head within about 3 or 4 episodes, and then it's just completely vanished. So it seemed pointless to me. I feel like they could have done it other ways for James and Donna to just go their separate ways, but it is what it is. I mean, if oh, my light fell down. um, yeah,
It's an omen. It's a
it's an omen. Yeah, it could have gone, a different way. I feel it could have been said a lot easier, but it didn't. But it was still good while it was there, and it still don't think it detracted too much from the show, regardless. So
again, it gave us my God, you set me up. I
it definitely gave us some good lines.
I feel like there's one episode where like he's like, that's it, I'm packing up, I'm leaving. This is wrong. And then there's like a shot of him moping. And then later on in the episode, he's like, he's packing up again, and she's like, James, he's like, I'm leaving. This is wrong. So just go then. Like, just leave. What are you doing? Like,
Exactly.
I had a little peek at there's like a hour 45 minute making of on in the Blu-ray set,
Yeah.
and I just skimmed through. I was just kind of just little bits and pieces, and one of the main showrunners on season two literally said like, I think David lost a bit of interest. We kind of lost interest. Like he's admitting that as they were like, trying to keep this show afloat and on its legs, they were kind of losing interest in the Twin Peaks world. So I think that's a bit apparent in some of those storylines.
You
So
can definitely feel Lynch has gone away and it's been left to sort of just run itself. It's not gone well.
yeah, the actress who plays Audrey said, and this is something I thought as I was watching, was like she said the writers would put in like weird Lynchian stuff, but it doesn't work because they're doing it for just the sake of it. Whereas
Yeah.
maybe he has a bit more of a different kind of, which is a difficult thing because there are weird Lynch stuff that he does that is just completely oddball, off the wall humor or whatever. But when someone else does try and do it, it doesn't feel the same somehow. I don't know why. It just, it does come off like they're trying to do David Lynch basically.
It's like the whole Civil War Benjamin Hoare thing. I mean, some of that stuff was really good where he was going back and looking at, I think, tapes from his childhood, so that stuff was good. But like, why create the entire Civil War battle?
And change who won as well, which
Yeah,
is, I mean,
exactly. And then he just goes back to a lesser version of himself, I would say, because he's no longer that super villain, is he?
I
I don't
like it
feel.
though. I mean, if it go back to like the first couple of times we talked, um, and I feel like it's just held true. I think he gives the most complete performance. I
Oh
just
yeah,
think he's flawless in every scene that he's in. I just love that character. To me is so real. Like I just think he's, obviously he's a real piece of shit, but and I like the kind of, he's like, I just don't know how to be good. It's just
yeah,
like, and there's people like the temptation to do something bad is just almost irresistible. And how he like changes his cigar to like a stick of celery. He's walking
yeah.
around with like a stick of celery. I don't know. I like it. It's kind of fun. And the Civil War thing, from my memory, it felt like it went on for like 10 episodes. It was like, good God, but it isn't actually that long. It's
No,
maybe
no.
four episodes or something. Um, but I do, as we're reaching the final, I think we were the last 4 or 5 episodes. To me, it really picks up again with Annie. And I said this to you in private. Like Heather Graham, it's like one of the first things she's done. Maybe I don't know. She's very young, and the acting's a bit stilted. I think at times, but
Mm.
as I said, yeah, it kind of works for the character because she's someone who's come from a convent and she's trying to readjust to like actual civilization and like well, like interact with men and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of fits the character, and it's kind of a sweet romance that develops. I think. What do you think of the Annie relationship and character?
Yeah, I mean, I was saying to you the other day, where we're at the moment, the penultimate episode, and he's obviously been inducted, and we were talking about like, well, I was saying like, I don't know if she's going to make it through because she's a guest character on the show.
Yeah,
Typically guest characters either just go away or are killed off. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So I don't know, man. It's a difficult one. I really want Cooper to be happy, but
yeah,
I don't sort of feel like that relationship fits the character. Not the character as such, but where I think he's going is not going to be able to form
yeah,
a relationship that's going to hold. If I think where the story's going, where it's going, because obviously we've got a whole other season to go yet, which is quite long, isn't it? And the limited event series. Um, Whether that relationship transfers over, I don't know. It could very Heather Graham might come back. I don't know. As I say, I know nothing about the new series. But yeah, I mean, it's nice, and I like that Cooper's finally getting some happiness because he obviously had the tragic loss of I can't remember her name.
it's Caroline, but like there's
That's
literally the first time he mentions her in the same scene, he says Caroline and Carolyn, and
yeah,
then from that point on, it's always Carolyn. So
yeah,
Carolyn, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's nice as I say that Cooper's getting some happiness, but I just don't see it lasting. I hope it does, but I just don't see how the character is and how he's so involved with his work. I just don't see how he could form a relationship that's standing.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that actually. It's almost a bit like someone who's falling in love for the first time, even though it isn't. But like he seems a bit kind of carried away with it. He's very
Yeah.
yeah, which is it's sweet to see. But I get what you mean, and the whole Miss Twin Peaks thing. And okay, Wyndham Earl. What do you think about this guy now that he's like fully on the show and not just a mention?
Yeah, well, again, when that first came around, it was only briefly mentioned, wasn't it, that he had escaped from an asylum or something like that, or like from a
Yeah,
mental hospital. And then I think it was brought up again a few episodes later, where it actually, sort of surfaced. Um, but yeah, I think for the most part, it's been quite intriguing watching it unfold. Wasn't where I was expecting the show to go, obviously with Bob, because Bob just seems to disappear for like a good 6 to 8 episodes.
yeah.
But especially when the whole show was leading up to obviously finding out Leland and his death and all
Mm,
that sort of stuff. I did wonder where the show was going to go after that because I in my head I thought maybe they're still searching for Bob. The spirit as such, or maybe Bob inhabits somebody else. Um, and that's where I thought the show was going to go and come to fruition with either Bob's death or someone's death that's integral to the show. Um, but yeah, I don't know, man. It is sort of leading up to where I thought it would go because obviously we're still on the trail of Bob. Um, but yeah, it's been interesting, man. It's it's certainly brought up some interesting stuff, um, especially with Leo.
Yeah, that's an intriguing one with Leo. Like, it's very trying to make you feel sympathetic for him, I guess, and he
Yeah,
does do a good job, I think, playing this kind of almost like a Frankenstein's monster kind of character, where he's this kind of
this role was made for him.
where he's this kind of like this puppy dog who's just completely, kind of trapped and stuff, and
He
and
has his
then
moments of redemption, doesn't he?
right, yeah, when he's like save Shelley and stuff, and then I'm like, oh, and I just, oh no, fuck him, like he beat her up with a bar of soap, like you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's it's a tough one because I do get naturally drawn to the redemption arc, I suppose, but yeah, he's such a despicable, slimy piece of shit. But then I think like, well, he probably was raised that way, do you know what I mean? And then it's like all that kind of cycle of
Yeah,
violent stuff. But anyway, yeah, the Windowmill stuff I quite enjoy, but mainly when it's like him and Cooper, and like the kind of the chess game was fun, like all the different ways that they would communicate their moves and everything. And as soon as Cooper brings in Pete Martell to help him, Wyndham's like he's using someone else. Like he knows instantly that's not a Cooper move. Like he's been told to
yeah.
do that. I like that. That's fun stuff. Um,
There's definitely a whole separation from where Leland's funeral is up until where we're at now, and I feel like it almost feels like a separate season. Like the Leland funeral is like the end of a season, and then we're starting a new season with a new arc as such. But it's obviously not. It's obviously carrying on, but that's
and that,
that's how it felt. That's how it felt to me initially. But now where we're going, it feels more cohesive, and it feels like
yeah,
it's coming together now.
it's been corralled back at this point. I think by the time we get to the penultimate episode, and I'm feeling the excitement now of getting to that
Yeah,
last installment. Another thing in that documentary was Mark Frost, who's like the co-creator of the whole show with David Lynch, and he said that the one thing he wished they'd done is like made Windermere more established earlier on in season two, so that
yeah,
when the Leland thing stopped, it goes right into Windermere, and there's more of a kind of keeping the urgency up, whereas it kind of flounders a bit in
yeah,
stuff that doesn't really matter. um, yes, but there's all these threads. There's Nadine and Mike, and
yeah,
it's been very nice to see Ed and Norma kind of get that kind of moment. But then, of course, we saw Nadine get bonked on the head in the last
yeah,
episode, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out where that might be heading.
yeah, yeah. I think I texted you that, didn't I?
Yeah, it's be intriguing to see, and I can't remember exactly how that pans out, but and then the whole Donna thing feels very pushed ahead. Like let's get some more
Yeah,
drama in. Benjamin Horn might be a dad. That does feel a bit kind of shoehorned in at the last minute, the
yeah,
last few episodes. Yeah, I love that ending of either I think it's 2 episodes ago where it's the hand of Bob coming out, and
yeah,
it's the location of the Black Lodge and the map that leads to it and stuff. So yeah, once you get into all that, I get kind of amped up again, and a little bit sad as well. We're at the end of this already. I can't remember when we
yeah,
started this, but it's certainly flown along, and there's a lot more to go in Twin Peaks land. But this is kind of, for me, the original series is a kind of cut off point. Things go different from there, I would say.
yeah,
So this, the show that we love at this point does kind of, for all intents and purposes, end with this final episode, because of course it was the last episode of Twin Peaks for 26 odd years. So
yeah.
yeah. So your thoughts on where it'll go in the final episode, how it might end, or if you want to think about that, just your general feelings going into it.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like Wyndham's going to die. Obviously, we know Cooper doesn't die because he's back. Obviously knows somewhat about the new series. I know he's on the front cover, so I would say he's probably most likely in the show. Um, Up for debate. Um, I really don't know how it's going to pan out, man. I feel like I forgot her name already. Heather Graham's character.
Annie.
I feel like Annie probably will die. I'm not 100% on that, as I say, but if she doesn't die, I feel like she might leave the show anyway, go back to the convent maybe, or something along those lines. Um, what else was going on? There was obviously Donna finding out about her dad,
Yeah.
so I think that might come to a head. In regards to Bob, I feel like that probably doesn't get wrapped up in the last episode. Is I feel like he's probably going to come over to the new series. Maybe I don't know. Um, I feel like the 50 minutes is a bit too short to deal with Wyndham, that other stuff, and deal with Bob for the final time. I have a feeling they're going to make it to the Black Lodge, or sort of get there maybe, and that's where that final fight happens. Maybe I don't know if that's somewhere they can actually reach as such. Um, but yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah. So I in my mind's eye, the Mr. Twin Peaks thing happens in the last episode, so I was quite surprised. I was like, oh shit! But it really like it must be when the final episode starts, it's just boom, like foot to the pedal, and it's all kind of, like that moment when Cooper realizes Annie's won, and he
Yeah.
knows that like the the woman who's going to win it is going to be marked for death basically by Windmill, and he's just kind of like, okay, and he's like, shit. And I really loved the strobing effect when he comes on stage as the log lady, and he kind of like suffocates Annie, and you just see his like maniacal grin, but it's only in flashes. Like
Yeah.
that was cool.
And for such a small town of Twin Peaks, the amount of disguises this guy uses Windermere. Like, it's such a small town, you would notice this different guy popping up all over the place. There's even a point where they're in the same, when they're in the cafe,
Yeah,
and Cooper just misses him by a second by not looking at him, but like you wouldn't notice
I
just around
know, I know. Like this is his partner who he's known for years.
Exactly, yeah. Like you wouldn't take a second glance.
I love the scene in the library when he was talking to Audrey, because
Yeah,
like he charms her initially, and I just think her performance is great because you see her getting like really into like his charm, and then he kind of brings up the poem, and her smile just falters just a little bit, and then he gets a bit sinister. I think it's a really good scene. I think that he
yeah,
he is a bit of a cartoony villain, but I do like him a lot, and I like the reveal of like, oh shit, he's not here to like get revenge on Cooper. He's here to find the Black Lodge. That's his main goal,
yeah,
and fucking around with Cooper is kind of like a distraction from that. And then I think they mentioned something like he's been looking for the Black Lodge since like the '60s or something,
yeah,
like 1965 or 1975. And so I like that kind of the background mythology, and then Briggs kind of coming in with some kind of secret info about that kind of
yeah.
stuff.
Just to roll back to that as well, going back to the final episode that we're about to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I had a thought that maybe Briggs had been corrupted by Bob, because
Mm,
they'd both been in the woods at the same time. But
yeah.
now I'm thinking it makes more sense that Wyndham's corrupted by Bob because of how many people he's killed, and I would
Mm,
say he's quite corruptible at this point. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. I really can't wait to find out.
yeah, I'm pretty amped up. We have the Lucy thing got wrapped up pretty much, and she chose Andy, which of
Yeah,
course she did. Oh, and we had like the little weird kind of Titanic. Well, not reunion because this took place pre-Titanic, but we had like I think David Warner is the guy who plays Thomas Eckhart, and then Billy Zane popping in
yeah,
and just pouting, and just kind of with his toupee.
that's it.
uh, you definitely feel like we're talking about that again. Like it feels like okay, we can't do Cooper and Audrey. Let's just bring in another character and just do
Yeah.
the same thing, and then with Annie coming in to be the Cooper kind of romance.
We've also seen the Giants and the small dancing guy as well a couple of times.
I love that
Um,
bit where it's just the Giants like,
yeah,
and oh my god, right. I'm glad I remembered this. Josie. I mean, I'd forgotten that there was a bit like in a couple of episodes down the line, because obviously, bit of housekeeping, Josie dies out of
yeah,
fear, and then her face is inside a not a doorknob, a little handle knob on a chest of drawers, and it's like, okay, wonder how they're going to explain that. Oh yeah, they don't. It's just like, but I'd forgotten there's a bit where Pete is randomly in the Great Northern. He's like, Josie, I see your face, and it's like, what? Um,
that feels like one of those things where they've tried to be lynched, doesn't it?
yeah, definitely. That's
Yeah.
yeah, not quite how he would have done. I don't
No.
think. All right, we're gonna watch it, and
Oh, we need a quote just quickly.
okay, instead of a quote, I'll just sing the entirety of "Just You." No, I won't do that.
I actually genuinely can't think of one either.
Oh, hold on. Yeah. One last thing. That whole scene in the police, the sheriff's department, where they're trying to figure out the petroglyph, and Cooper's like, "Oh, it's Jupiter and Saturn." that feels so rushed. Like it's like, okay, we got to like get Cooper from A to B to C to D to F to G like now, and it just always like, yeah, hang on, Andy, is this and this isn't it? It's again feels a bit rushed. I have quotes. I don't know. Possibly. I got one. I really like this. It was a little scene between Benjamin Horn and Billy Zane's character where he just leans back with the cellar and he's like, "What a wonderful world we live in." I just like that. It was a cool little.
Good.
Or just him saying, "I really don't know how to be good." All right, so final episode. I hope you enjoy, and we will definitely be back with thoughts at some point with that. So we'll see you then.
Goodbye.